my God, that kid has got a howitzer of an arm. But we didn't see a lot of JJ this year because they didn't need him to be that guy. You have him in the first round. Is it because JJ, the oh my God, is there and he's another guy that has everything? He just needs the good fit?
Yeah, definitely. All the tools are there. They're just kind of waiting to come out. It's what did Mahomes say this week? He's got a six pack. It's just under the dad bod. It's JJ McCarthy. The traits are just a little hidden right now. We just need somebody to bring them out. And Harbaugh is on record saying he should be the first quarterback drafted. I know he's defending his guy, but I'll tell you, I've talked to so many scouts. One in particular who said JJ McCarthy would be Joe Burrow if he were on a team that threw the ball. And you're like, okay, like there's a lot of love for JJ McCarthy among the scouting community. He's tough as hell. He's got a big arm. He's a very good athlete, and he's coachable. That's something that comes up all the time. That guy went to Michigan where they didn't throw the ball in the second half against Penn State, and he never whined to the media one time. It was never a problem. He just went out and won every game but one he started in college football. And NFL coaches and scouts love that trait in a guy who's coachable, works his tail off, and then does have those plus level traits. So the fit is going to matter. There's probably going to be some bumps just because he hasn't thrown the
Right.
football as much as these other guys. He hasn't seen as many defenses. And they play good defense in the Big Ten, but he just hasn't seen, the 5 years of starts like a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix. So that's probably going to come up, but I think he's going to put on a show at the combine if he chooses to throw there.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of those guys. And here, I don't like it when guys start shooting up draft boards because I think it puts so much undue pressure on them. If they were kind of hanging around where they needed to be, mid to bottom of the first round, they have a pro day. Zach Wilson, prime example. Zach Wilson
Yeah.
coming out of BYU. If you watch Zach Wilson's BYU tape, you're like, my God, that kid's amazing. Was kind of hanging out near the middle. And then the pro day and the combine, he's making all those off balance 60-yard throws, shoots him up. And now who knows
Yeah.
what's going to be of Zach Wilson. I just hope that's not JJ McCarthy because I think he's a really, really good football player. Okay. Michael Penix Jr., Washington. He was the darling of college football, as were the Huskies, Roma Dunze, all of the receivers that they had there, McMillan. They were awesome. But now he's kind of fallen down the board. Why?
Well, I think he got, like, to your point, I think he got overinflated after the Texas game, and he carved up Texas. There's no mistake about that. It's one of the best passing games I've seen from a college quarterback in a long time. But before the Texas game, Michael Penix was the second round pick. After the Michigan game, Michael Penix was the second round pick. There was just that 10-day span there after the Texas game where people were like, oh, wait, that was a flawless performance. It all goes back to some of the things that we don't see on the field. 4 years at Indiana ended in season-ending injuries. He's had 2 ACL tears on the right leg, which as a left-footed thrower, you worry about that a little bit because it's your back leg. He's had 2 shoulder injuries. Those things do matter. And I think for Penix, until the medical evaluation happens at the combine, it's going to be very hard to put a firm, dot on his grade. You're not going to be able to say, okay, here it is. I'm writing this in ink. Here we go. Because as a thrower, it's beautiful at times. And I think in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, he was the best thrower there. Just through the 3 days of practice, he was the best thrower there. There's some things you would need to clean up. The footwork does not follow the arm. He's all upper body as a thrower, even though he's got world-class arm strength. The accuracy suffers, especially when he's asked to move because he doesn't bring his feet with his arm. That can be coached out. That can be fixed. But, he's looked at as a guy now who's 6 years college football. You're probably not quite ready to play in the NFL because of some of the mechanical stuff. And we've got the injuries to figure out. So I think that's why a player who was so amazing, Heisman Trophy runner-up, 2 great years at Washington where you're injury-free, that's why he's not in the same conversation as those other 5 quarterbacks that we've talked about.
And you currently have him 42 to the Vikings in your first mock draft. Okay, last 2 will get you out of here. First one, give me the small school player, group of 5 or smaller player that college football fans are just going to cheer for that it's going to make it good in the NFL.
Oh, it's tough to pick there, but I think Javon Baker, the wide receiver from Central Florida, had a great Senior Bowl week. In fact, I went back and converted my notebook to my online notes this week, and I wrote his name down so many times. Like, this guy's making red zone catches. He's making explosive plays after the catch. So, as you mentioned, there were a lot of great wide receivers down there, and we could do a 3-hour show just talking about this wide receiver class. But yeah, Baker's the guy who, just consistently stood out. But you mentioned Luke McCaffrey too. Luke McCaffrey had a damn good week. That dude can ball. And I'd never seen him play in person, but I was very, very impressed by how he played.
Give me a comp on Javon Baker.
Oh man, off the top of my head, Tyler Boyd, maybe Cincinnati Bengals, somebody who like a really good slot receiver. He maybe has a little more juice than Tyler Boyd, though. But I think body type, the way they adjust to the ball, some of the concentration stuff they're able to do. Baker's going to be a player in the league for sure.
All right, final one for me. If you had to put all of your chips in, mortgage, paycheck, everything on one player that's going to be a franchise cornerstone from this draft, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. I'll take Joe Alt. I'm going to play it safe. I'll take Joe Alt, the left tackle from Notre Dame. Left tackles don't really bust that much. I feel very safe there. Started 3 years at Notre Dame. Great athleticism, really good run block. Pass pro is flawless. I think he gave up 1 sack the last 2 years. So if I have to put all those chips on the table, I'll go very, very safe here. I remember talking to Scott McCloughan, who was the GM of the Washington Commanders back in the day, and it was going to be his first draft there. And he said, your first pick with a franchise, it's just got to be a single. Too many people try to hit a home run. And they drafted Brandon Scherf, who ended up being like an all-pro guard. Not the sexy pick, but their first pick was an all-pro. You can always go back to that. So I'll do the same thing here and take Joe Alt.
Look, that's what we're trying to do. You're trying to be safe and protect your livelihood with your mortgage and your paycheck, right. And you do that with the left tackle. I lied. I'm going to give you one last thing. As I gave you the conspiracy theory that the Raiders will come up and draft Jaden Daniels, I'm also going to stay quarterback for this one. In the next 3 years, I believe the quarterback out of this draft that is going to be turning more heads positively in the NFL is going to be Spencer Rattler.
Ooh. That's a deep cut there. I don't think you're crazy because, again, it goes back to your fit matters conversation, and he's probably going to be a 3rd-round pick, maybe a 4th-round pick at latest. The arm is there, the mobility's there. And as I was saying with Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler really reinvented himself. He was seen as this, kind of entitled young man when he got to Oklahoma and have all that early success. You're told you're going to be a 1st-round draft pick, and then you get benched at halftime of your rivalry game for Caleb Williams, who goes on to do amazing things. You got to transfer to South Carolina. Very, very different situation in South Carolina than Oklahoma. So I don't think it's not crazy to say that Rattler could be the guy 3 years from now that we're talking about.
I'm just telling you, if he goes to a place like New Orleans where he can cook, Minnesota where they've got a guy, if he goes to a team that's got a starter for now, that's a year and a half, 2 years away from needing to make the move. If he goes to that kind of team, I think that he could be a guy we look back on and be like, man, they got him. The Dak Prescott's a decent comp here because he was a 4th-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys. At the time, they had Tony Romo and Kellen Moore. He was down the depth chart because of injuries through preseason. He came up, and the rest is history now. But to me, Spencer Rattler with the Cowboys. Give him
or the Falcons. Go to the Falcons, where it's like
no. I see the Falcons need a quarterback now. I don't think that'd be like
that's fair. Yeah.
Spencer needs because he is so talented. If he had, like I said, a season and a half to cook, we're gonna come back. Yeah. We're gonna revisit this, and when Jaden Daniels is on the Raiders, we're gonna have a field day with it. Hey man, good stuff, man. This was fun. We'll check in with you right before the draft to see if there's any movers and shakers that's been going on after the pro days and the combine. And then we'll revisit after the draft sometime in May. Matt Miller, NFL Draft Scout. We appreciate your time. Good luck. When's your next mock coming out, by the way?
Hopefully a while. I think March. I think it's the end of March, but it's a full 7-round mock draft. So it's going to take me that long to write it. So we've got a little bit of time.
As always, you can find those on ESPN.com. Been another edition of the Matt Barrie Show here on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel.
Give me something I can feel. Light a cigarette.